So in the last two videos, we programmed our stage, our backdrops, and we also programmed a start button. When you press start, the game should go straight to the playing screen. The timer should go and the lives and scores stay the same as of right now. So in this video, we are going to be adding our play characters. So let's go ahead and click start and just be on the play screen. I'm going to go ahead and hit the stop button though so that the timer is not moving and I just have the screen to go by. So since mine is baseball themed, my sprites are going to be baseballs. Whatever you are doing, you could bring in a sprite that is similar to that theme. You can always go out and find other images. They don't have to be sprites that are found here in Scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and choose a sprite. I'm going to scroll until I find what I want, and in this case, it's a baseball. And I think I want these a little bit bigger. I'm only going to do 3 so that when I build my whack-a-mole board, I only have to have 3 places that I have to wire. Now, there is going to be a little bit extra code with this than what we have been seeing because this character has to do a lot of different things. It has to be clickable, it has to flash on and off, and it has to help me either lose lives or score points. So we have quite a bit to do with it. But the first thing is that I want to give it another costume. So while I'm clicked here, we go to costumes. You are going to peace sign click or right click to duplicate. And then we're actually going to delete it. So the second costume makes it look like it's not there. This is going to help us make it look like it's flashing on the screen. So I have costume 1 is there, costume 2 is not. So you can call this baseball, and you can call this baseball 2, or you could name it whatever makes sense for you. I'm going to keep it just baseball 1, baseball 2. Let's go back to our code. All right, so I noticed that I've left it accidentally on baseball 2, so I can't see it. Let's go back and just make sure that you've clicked on the one where it's visible. That way it makes it a little bit easier to code. We're going to start by when the backdrop switches to play. So let's go ahead and grab our event. When the backdrop switches to play, the game is starting. We want to show the character. I know we haven't hidden it yet, but we will in another code. So we want to make sure that we are showing the character when play starts. Now, when it's not on the backdrop play, we want it to hide. So let's go ahead and grab that for the 2 other backdrops. So we have 2, we have the start and we have the end page. Let's go ahead and bring these over. So start and end. And we want to tell it that when it's not on the play screen, this sprite should be completely hidden. I don't want to see it when we are not on the play screen. All right, and you can even just put these codes right next to each other. We only need them this one time. All right. So now we're saying that when we're on the play screen and we're showing, we want to set it up so that this character is flashing randomly. When we did your coded name activity, we learned about how to make something look like it was flashing colors through costume. And this is going to be the same, except we are going to have limits and we're going to make it move randomly. So we're going to go ahead and find some controls. We are going to pull in 2 repeat untils. So we are going to put a repeat until here, and you're going to put a repeat until underneath it. What we're going to say is that the game is going to continue until the timer runs out or lives equal 0. So what we're going to start with is our lives equaling 0. We want the game to continue until that happens. So let's grab this line of code, this hexagon operator that currently says blank equals 50. And let's drop it in the first one. And I want to say that this is when our lives equals 0. All right. Now to pull in the word lives, I have to go back down to variables, and I can find it right here, and it should go in that first one. So what I'm saying now is that when the backdrop goes to play, the character is going to show up, and it's going to continue its action until lives equals 0. Now we also are going to pull in for it to work until our timer equals 0. So we want it to continue doing its rotation until the timer equals 0 as well. Now, I've played around with this line of code a few times, and we have used the blank or blank code down here earlier when we did our backstage, and it just doesn't work for this one. We need to put the repeat until in the repeat until. So far, when it's on the play screen, it's going to show up and it's going to do an activity until lives equal 0, and it's going to keep doing the activity until the timer equals 0. If you recall, we've made costumes. So I want it to switch costumes, so it's going to look like it's flashing. Let's go ahead and grab our next costume. So now it's flashing a lot. We definitely don't want it to look like this, but it is definitely going back and forth, and that is exactly what we need it to do. When we did other codes, we were making the sprites look like they were flashing. We used this wait 1 second, and we're going to do that again. We're going to pull this in. But I want this game to be randomized. I don't want to know exactly when this character is going to pop up. So instead of changing it to a specific second, we're going to go back down here to operators. And we're going to find the oval that says pick random 1 to 10. This one's a fun code because you don't even know as the creator of the game when it's going to show up. So this is saying pick random between 1 to 10 seconds. I'm going to make that a little bit shorter, just so that I know it's going to flash for a little bit and then disappear. Now, after this is done, so after it hits lives equals 0, timer equals 0, we do switch the backdrop to end because that means the game is done. And we're going to have this line of code on multiple things because it's telling us no matter what, the game should be over. All right, so when I click on this, this baseball is now going to flash randomly. See how this time it's taking it a little bit longer than it did the first 2 times? So it's going to be going at its own pace. All right. Now the last thing we need to do is affect the lives and the score with this sprite. I want to be able to click on it. Now keep in mind, to play this game, you are going to be creating a physical game board. So you don't have to put the buttons on the screen on which ones you have to click, but you do have to code it so that you know what button goes with which sprite. Let me explain. When you hit a character, you are going to either score or lose points if you clicked on the wrong character. So each sprite we have written up here is going to be connected to a different key on our keyboard. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go to events, and we're going to find the second line of code. This one says when space key is pressed. You're going to have a choice of all of these different characters. When you hook up your makey, what it will do is it will attach one part of your board to one of these keys. So if you click the right one on the board, it's going to activate the computer. I'm just going to use up, down, left, and right on this, but you can choose whichever. Just make sure when you build the game that it's connected correctly. So now I'm saying that when the up arrow key is pressed, let's have something happen. We're going to use an if-then statement. An if-then-else statement, excuse me. So let's grab this one right here. We're going to say if the costume is on 1, because remember, costume baseball 1 is where I can actually see it. Let's go ahead and grab the operator. We're going to say if the costume equals 1, which means the first costume, and I can find this term, if costume, down here in my looks. So it says costume. So as it reads, if the up arrow is pressed, if the costume is number 1, which is the one where we can see it, then change points by 10 and switch costume to baseball 2. So I'm saying if this one's visible on the screen and I click the right button, it's going to change my score by 10. So let's go to variables, because it's orange. We are changing our score by 10. Now, as soon as it's clicked, though, I want it to go to its second costume, so I can't continue to click on it over and over and get a lot of extra points. In a normal whack-a-mole game, if you click on the character, it disappears. So after we change the score, then we're going to switch costume to baseball 2, which is where it's gone. So now I'm going to click on the key when I have that going. So let's see, I'm clicking on it to play. If I hit the up button, I have points that come up. So as soon as I see it on the screen, I'm clicking on the up button and it disappears and I get points. Awesome. Now I want to tell it if I click on it or if I hit up and it wasn't on costume 1, I want to lose a life. To do that, we simply go back down to change. We're going to change lives. And since we're taking away, we want to make this a -1. All right. Now, we do need to do one more wait in controls. And we want to make this a short amount of time, maybe half a second. This is so that if someone accidentally hits the wrong button twice, let's say they dropped the mallet on it on the board, they would instantly lose all the lives, and we don't want that to happen. So let's go ahead and just make sure all of our code is working by restarting the game, clicking on the flag. When I click start, the game should begin. And if I hit up, the baseball should disappear and I should score points. If I hit up when it's not going, notice my lives are gone. So when the baseball shows up and I hit up, I get points. If I hit up when the baseball's not there, I lose lives. And if I lose my life or the timer went to 0, notice this line of code told me to switch backdrop to end, and it was hidden. Awesome. Now, for a true whack-a-mole game, you want all the sprites to be on the screen while it's going. You want everything, there we go, everything to be right here. I'm going to go ahead and pause it because I don't want it to go. I don't want to have to rewrite all of this code again. I'm going to use more than one baseball. So let's go ahead and simply right-click on this sprite, hit duplicate, and hit duplicate again. Now, the neat thing is now I have copied over not just the sprite, but look, when I click on them, the code is there. So I didn't have to rewrite any code. That's the exact same code for all 3. Now, just to make sure that they don't all come up at the same time, even though they're all at random, you can adjust these. Maybe this one is 1 to 6 seconds, and this one's 1 to 5 seconds. You also have to go through, though, and make sure that they're not all using the same key. These each have to have their own key that you connect to the game board. So my first one, we programmed to have the up arrow. My second one, let's program it to do the down arrow. And then my third baseball, I need to program, let's do the right. So if I was playing this game on the computer and I didn't have the makey system, I would put in my directions that this one is up, this one is down, and this one is right. I could even put arrows on it to know which buttons to press. But since you have to build the game board, you would simply make the game board look just like the screen, and then they would have to smack the correct baseball. So notice the code is the same on all of them except for one button. Hit start. The game starts. As soon as you hit the baseball, it should disappear. And if I hit the wrong button at the wrong time, then I lose my lives and it goes to my end screen. So in our last video, so the next video, I'm going to show you how to code it so that if you run out of lives, it tells you to try again. Or if you run out of time, it's going to say congratulations and just show you your score.